So good morning, everyone. I'm Rebecca Rowe, Associate Director of the Community Revitalization Office here at Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. Just to let everyone know, we are recording this meeting, and today we are reviewing eligibility and tips for, I would say, normally tips for a strong application, but really what we're talking about with the Virginia Individual Development Accounts, or the VIDA program, is how you can take advantage of some of the funding that we have available and how you can also potentially create a program in your community. To reduce background noise, all participants, please stay muted during the meeting. Case in point, you can probably hear my dog killing a toy right now. If you have any questions or comments during the meeting, please use the in-meeting chat, and then at the end of the session, we will moderate those questions. And if you're having trouble hearing the presenter or seeing the presentation, also please let us know that in the chat box as well. If you are participating by phone, when you have a question, try to get our attention by muting and unmuting yourself, or unmuting and then kind of breaking in where there is a lull, and we will get your questions answered. With that being said, I will now turn it over to Sabrina Blackett, who is our VIDA program administrator and guru. Thanks, Sabrina.
Guru, I don't know about that, but thank you, Rebecca. Good morning, everyone. So what I want to do this morning is to talk to you about the program from a perspective of kind of giving you a VIDA 101 orientation to it, because I think that will kind of help you understand what we're looking for as far as an organization is concerned. All right, and we've got some, you may have heard about VIDA, you may be familiar with it, but we've had some program changes and I'm kind of excited about them. So let's get into it. All right, so what is VIDA? VIDA is a match savings and financial education program that helps working families acquire an asset. So with VIDA, the participant saves $1 into an account that will open for them, and they'll earn $8 in match from the program. So to keep the math simple here, $1 deposited, $8 in match earned gives them a total IDA savings account of about $9 that they can then use those funds towards a business startup or home ownership. So we'll get into what programs or what funding sources that we can work with to make that happen as we go along. But everybody gets excited about the match money. Even the providers, the intermediaries, they get excited about it. Of course, the savers get excited about the match money. But there's some behind the scenes program objectives that we're trying to achieve along with the process of the match money. So we're trying to get individuals to save on a consistent basis, to use financial institutions to put money away, and getting into the habit of saving something every single month. And so a lot of our program objectives, we've also implemented program policies along with that. So with the savings piece, we ask that the participants deposit at least $25 a month. So then the other program objective that we're trying to achieve is we're trying to increase participants' financial education. So it's a mandatory 14 hours worth of financial education through the program. 8 of those hours are going to be for basic financial management skills. So we're talking about budgeting, better tax prep, better outcomes with your taxes, talking about, anything from your retirement savings on up. And then we also offer an additional 6 hours in what we call asset development training. So that training is going to be related to whatever asset they're saving for. So if they're saving for home ownership, there's going to be an additional 6 hours in home buyer education. If they're saving for a business, then it's going to be along the lines of small business development training. And then finally, the final program objective is acquiring an asset through the program. Sure, we want them to acquire the asset, but we're also trying to get them to build wealth through the program, and hence the match savings, which is a ratio of about 1 to 8. So for every dollar saved, they earn the $8, and we will match up to $4,000 in program match. So let's say they don't save the full, if you're doing the calculation in your head, that comes out to about $500 in savings to earn the 4,000. So let's say they don't save the full 500. We'll just match based on the 1 to 8 ratio what's there. If they save more than 500, which is great, then we will only match up to the $500. So how can the money be used? I've already touched on it a little bit. So there's 2 uses depending on the program funding source. So if they're saving for a home, there'll need to be a first-time home buyer. Our definition of first-time home buyer is an individual that has no home ownership interest within the last 3 consecutive years. As far as how they can use the money, they can use it towards their down payment and closing costs. If they're starting a business through the program, they will come out of the program with a business plan, with working with the provider or the intermediary, and then they can use their funds, their savings, along with the match they've earned for inventory and equipment costs. So let's talk about who is eligible to actually participate in the program. They need to be at least 18 years of age or older. Why? Because DHCD is entering into a contract with the actual participant. So we need them to be at least 18 years of age or older. They need to be a U.S. citizen or a legal resident, and they, of course, need to be a Virginia resident. I do get calls from Northern Virginia from folks outside of the state wanting to participate, so we do have to mention that. Does the applicant the applicant does have to have earned income. That can be either through wages from a job, or it can be through self-employment. We're talking about purchasing a home here, so of course earned income is critical to that outcome. And then finally, they need to meet the income requirements for the program. For our home ownership program, the statewide program, we are going by HUDs. We're doing up to 80% of AMI. So that's a new change for the program. As far as the CDBG program, and I'll talk about that in just a moment, we're using HUD numbers, but we're using it at about 30% of HUD. And then there's household net worth. They need to be at least under $10,000 as far as household net worth. And typically that's not an issue for most of our participants, unless we have somebody that's maybe been working on their job for a while and they have a retirement account or something like that. But typically when we factor in car debt, student loan debt, vehicle debt, etc., then that's not an issue with most of our participants. So how does it work? We offer the program, or we contract with intermediaries, and intermediaries are considered, for each program there's a different name for a nonprofit. So some programs refer to them as grantees, some programs refer to them as providers. We refer to our nonprofit organizations as intermediaries. So I say nonprofits because that's primary who applies to the program, but we certainly can have housing authorities or other units of local government apply to VIDA. And then as far as how a participant would access the services, the intermediary is the front-facing organization to the participant applying to the program, working with them to make sure they meet the eligibility criteria as far as income, as far as household net worth, etc., those things that I just mentioned, but then also to work with participants to set savings goals. also looking at credit issues. If there's things that will hinder them from actually getting a mortgage, then they need to identify those issues on the credit and then come up with a savings plan to make sure that they're taken care of while they're participating and saving in the program. And then finally, the intermediary will work to coordinate the training hours that I mentioned. And then also help the participant will start saving through the program. DHCD will open the savings account for them, and then we'll work with your organization to get that information passed on to the participant. And then once they're enrolled, they can start saving. They'll save in the program, start making monthly deposits. And while they're making monthly deposits, the intermediary will work with the saver to start their training hours. As far as training hours are concerned, some intermediaries do maybe 8 hours on a Saturday and then do some follow-up hours later on. Some prefer to stretch it out over a month. Some even stretch it out over a 3-month period. It just depends on your participants that you're working with, their work schedule, and their ability to get the training done. All right, so let's talk about the funding sources that I mentioned. Right now, we have the potential of 2 funding sources. So we've got CDBG, and then we have the statewide program. So if you're interested in applying through CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, that's the program that VIDA falls under. For that, it's going to be under the Local Innovative Grant, and it's available for non-entitlement localities. And for this particular grant, it's new for us. We, about a year ago, started working with 2 communities. They applied for the Local Innovative Grant and they were successful. And they, it was the locality applied for the grant. And what they did is they had a sub-grantee, the intermediary or nonprofit organization that was local to them, actually implement the VIDA program. So the grant is up to $200,000, and there are, the way that the money factors out, you can have up to 37 savers in your program for this particular grant. There is admin tied to that $200,000, and we came up with that odd number of 37 based on your admin subtracted from that amount, your training admin, and then there's your set aside for the actual $4,000 for the participants. So that's where we get that odd 37 number from. And for this particular program, you can have, or your savers have the option of saving towards a business or home ownership. So that's the good part about doing a CDBG program. All right, for the statewide program, it's available for, as I mentioned, nonprofits, units of local government, housing authorities. We're looking for organizations that have considerable housing counseling experience, and the saver slots themselves are available through the statewide program, first come, first serve. So we have funding for about 200 saver slots, and we are just about halfway full. So about 100 and some change available as we currently speak. And for this particular program, the statewide program, it's for home ownership savings only. So this is an example of Catherine's story. It's an example of a CDBG program where the town of Vinton contracted with the Advancement Foundation, who function as the intermediary for the program. TAF, the Advancement Foundation, worked with Catherine to help her actually expand her business, and not only helped her with working her way through the VIDA program, but they helped her identify through her business plan where she could offer small scale classes within her studio that she had. And so she's, mentioning here that she would have probably never thought of that, and they kind of helped her expand her business and managed to help her market better. And she's just really excited about the opportunity for the program. This example is another Advancement Foundation success story. It's Letitia and Quentin. It's a husband and wife team, and they save for the home ownership option under the program. So the husband opened an account, the wife opened an account, they maxed out their account. So that was $4,500 for each. So they went to the closing table with about $9,000 in savings just from the VIDA program. So you think about, they use their money from VIDA, and VIDA can be combined with other programs, down payment assistance programs. So just within DHCD, there's the down payment assistance program. There's the potential for affordable homes through the ARS Acquire, Renovate, and Sell program. There's also, through our partners, Virginia Housing, the opportunity for mortgage and other down payment assistance programs. So imagine just working, not only with the VIDA program to tap into these funds, but to also add additional funds to help them affordably purchase a home. So I want to touch on, just really quick, kind of go over once again, what's the role and responsibility for the saver, the intermediary, and then DHCD, because it'll kind of tie everything together and kind of recap what I've just said. So as far as the saver, again, they have to save at least $25 a month. They're required to do the financial education and the asset-specific training that's provided by the intermediary. They have to complete their training prior to making a match funds request. And then there's also a 6-month minimum wait period or participation period during the program. The 6-month requirement is there because we don't want folks to get their tax returns, plop it in their VIDA account, and then they're on their way. Remember what I said in the beginning, part of our program objective is to work with folks not only for the financial education piece, but we also want to get them in the habit and learn to save money each month. So even if, let's say, they learn about this during tax time when we do a lot of marketing on the program, and so they say, well, I'm going to take a portion of my tax return and put it into my VIDA account. That's fine, but you still have to participate for 6 months, depositing that money, getting your training, and going through the program. So as far as the intermediary roles and responsibility, the intermediary markets within their local community. A lot of the intermediaries that we work with, they typically have home buyer education programs, so they're marketing to those folks, and then they expand from there to recruit participants. The intermediary, when they have someone that's interested in the program, they're expected to determine candidate eligibility. They enter their information into our electronic system to submit their application to us here in Richmond. And then they assist the saver, as I mentioned, with their goal setting and then completing the training. They also assist with making the asset purchase in the end when this participant completes the program, and then establish and maintain saver files for us. And as far as DHCD roles are concerned, we do some statewide marketing. We coordinating with our banking partners to open savers accounts. Right now we have Wells Fargo and BB&T as our partners for the statewide program. And then for our CDBG savers, they're working with Virginia Community Capital Bank. We also monitor the savers accounts to make sure everything's going well and there's no odd payments coming through. And then we also generate monthly saver statements. And this is critical for kind of encouraging savers as they go along and participate in the program. We want to, show, here's what you saved, here's what you've earned in kind as far as the match is concerned, and this is your total IDA budget. The match money never hits the savers accounts. I think I would go crazy if I had to, once a month drop money into their account as they save. So what we do, it's the money is saved in escrow in a state's account for them as they go along. And then once they have completed the program requirements, then we will take their money, deposit into the state account, add their match money accordingly, and then send it off to their closing attorney or their provider for their business equipment and inventory. So, and we also, of course, well, I just mentioned that we provide the match savings in a timely manner. All right, so this is just an idea of our stats that, from our previous grant cycle that we completed. And as you can see, majority of the folks that participated that were graduates, they wanted to save towards a home purchase. For this particular round, we had about a 91% graduation rate. And take a look at that last line there as far as savings total for folks, almost $1 million, just over $900,000. So pretty amazing for the savings. All right, so then let's just recap as far as the different funding sources are concerned. So you've got the CDBG funding. If you're interested in that, you would apply through CAMS, and that's up to $200,000. And there is administrative funds included in that amount, and it's typically a 2-year contract. For the VIDA statewide program, I mentioned we have the 200 saver slots. The saver slots are on a first come, first serve basis. It's for home ownership only, and there is administrative funds tied to that particular program. However, the $600 per graduate is paid at the end when the participant graduates from the program. And that particular grant, the statewide program, will end or is expected to end in 2024 unless we exhaust all our funds before that time. So if you're just hearing about VIDA, you've never heard about it before, you're not sure if you want to apply to become an intermediary or apply for the CDBG program, but you do have clients that you think may benefit from the program, you can always go to our website, and there we have a list of current intermediaries that are in operation, and we can get your clients connected to those sites so that they can apply to the program. If you're interested in actually applying to either become an intermediary for the statewide program or CDBG program, then I have here how you can access the CAMS information. All right, and just another little bit more of information for the VIDA intermediary application. We're typically looking for housing counseling or credit counseling organizations. So that's not to say that if you are a housing development organization, but you may go to your housing counseling partner locally to send your folks there for your credit counseling information or to pull their credit counseling, then you can certainly apply to become an intermediary, and then you'll just have to make sure that you document that this is how we are accomplishing this particular piece of working with our clients as far as the credit counseling is concerned. The application is not necessarily competitive. It's based on your organization's ability to perform, to have the actual capacity to deliver services. I'll tell you now that we have a need within the Northern Virginia area for intermediaries, Fredericksburg, and then I think we typically call this area Southside, which would encompass Emporia and Greensville area. So within the application itself, especially the statewide application, you're explaining how you will operate your VIDA program. Now, a majority of the folks that apply for the VIDA intermediary, the submitted VIDA intermediary application, they don't have any experience in delivering IDAs. The likelihood is very slim that you've done this previously. So what you're doing in the application is you're just identifying and telling us how you will operate your VIDA program, how you're going to handle the different pieces. And so that's what we've done in the application, kind of mapped out how will you deliver training, how are you going to perform intake when someone calls and they say they're interested in the VIDA program. Talk to us about how that's going to be handled. Are you going to do orientation classes to start so that everyone gets the same information at the same time? Are you going to work with folks piecemeal? Just explain your process to us. Also talk about your organization. Are you currently working with clients? Are you in housing development? Are you in housing counseling? Do you have a home buyer education club? What are you currently doing? And then finally, identify your key individuals or your partners that you're going to pull in to make your program successful. All right, that's it. And I've got my email there, my telephone number. You can by all means give me a call if you have specific questions. And then I believe Rebecca is going to try to take some of the questions in the chat.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. You learn more about this program every time I participate in a presentation. So at the moment, we don't have anything in the chat box. Does anyone have any questions for Sabrina on how the VIDA program works, how they can get their community involved, how they can become an intermediary or connect any constituents with the program? We do have a kudos from Zachary on a great presentation, Sabrina.
Thank you, Zach.
And yes, the presentation is being recorded, as we mentioned at the outset. And so this will be available for everyone later this week I think we'll be posting these to the DHCD website as well as virginiamainstreet.com. And we will be emailing it out to everyone who is registered. Okay, I see a few things. First of all, your team cheering you on. And then the question is Northern Virginia Family Services an intermediary in Northern Virginia?
No, they are not.
All right, that question is from Joy. So Joy, not sure if you maybe have a connection there for Sabrina that we can explore after this meeting. She's going to get you some contact information.
All right,
Any other
works.
questions from anyone? I was in an ELT meeting earlier today and we were talking about being able to track DHCD programs, both those that are state funded and federally funded, to be able to talk about the impacts that we have on communities in need, low income individuals. And, you know, to my mind, VIDA really is one of the best resources that we have for that. So I really appreciate everyone being here today. Really appreciate Sabrina's time and a really excellent presentation. So again, we will be posting this to the website so everyone will have the opportunity to watch this again, share it with your partners and get your questions answered. And you are, of course, always able to reach us by email if any questions occur to you in the meantime. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Oh, Sabrina, we have a question now. Once the application is submitted, how quickly are the applications approved?
No more than about 30 days.
And Erlene, if you would like a meeting with Sabrina, definitely let us know about that as well, and we will connect.
Give me a call, Erlene.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.